The first pool of absence opens underneath a surface, like something medicinal, somewhat fragrant and complex. Just pull back my eyelid, he tells her. Pin it against my brow bone with your finger. Hold it there. You see, I sleep, but never do. It feels like an intrusion when the light blazes a trail into his iris, but later, as if in a photograph, the color bounces back to him, seems satisfied again, at least for a little while. When she tells him the apartment is cold, he reads to her one of Darwin's letters. I dare say a little peaty earth could be shaken off some of the little peat-loving plants of T. del Fuego, and she nods her head in agreement. To be known is for her two men exchanging notes, a seance, someone underneath the table giving her a special name. What a lot of people call the heart, her therapist calls story. As in, she cannot get the hand out of her vagina, so she whispers a lot, collects an abundance of knick-knack ceramic kittens, sits mournfully at her bedroom window until dreams of her mother force her to dress in color, learn ballet. Instead, she wanders the grocery store aisles, groping bags of cat food, though her new boyfriend is allergic, he says. His mother kept a begonia plant in a milk carton, the top cut off, the handle left. Some days she'd carry it by its handle to the kitchen sink to water it from the tap. Some days, tap, tap, he'd hear the water dripping from the petals onto its plastic sides, and then he'd excuse himself from the room, but not until after he'd tousled the rug and forgotten to pick up the floor lamp, all of which happened after he heard her whisper, "You are my little white begonia," 3 times, and after he slipped into the bed covers to feel her soft, nourishing breasts and to be her little white begonia 3 more times while she fought to find him in the sheets, after which he woke to discover her breathless, the color of smoke, motionless and folded in a naked heap, holding her breasts like 2 round eggs. He extinguished his cigarette on her twiggy arms. That's what young boys do, then left. Thank you so much for listening to me read Parrot Flower from my book, FLORALIA. It consumes the midsection of this book. This book is made up of 3 sections, a radio play, Parrot Flower, the midsection, about 2 people who are both living with trauma in their bodies. And then the last section is one woman's voice after she has been assaulted. It's not an easy book. If this is not something that you've sat with for a long time, if you have experienced trauma, it could be easier for you because it feels familiar and it helps you feel companioned in your grief and the shame that you carry. It could also be difficult because it's a reminder. If you're not someone who has experienced trauma specifically from sexual assault, then honestly, it's a good book to read because it's really good for us to sit with other people's stories, to understand where they're coming from. Story work is so important. Not only writing through our difficult experiences, but also being able to share those stories with other people so they can come closer to us and we can come closer to them and we can build an understanding. That's what relationships are built of. So Parrot Flower, you got to see that 2 people, I only read to you the beginning of it, but you've got 2 people, each with childhood trauma, who come into a relationship. One of them decides to perpetuate the cycle of abuse. The other one decides to break free of it. And she does some really good work by the end of the poem, and you feel that sense of relief and choice that she's making. I really love Parrot Flower, and I really love this book. It's a good book. Let me read you one of the blurbs for the book. I particularly love, I love all these blurbs, but this one is really beautiful. Like the eponymous flowers, the poems in Floralia oscillate beautifully between the familiar and strange,
between the therapeutic and poisonous. It's unsettling and cinematic, as if on the other side of these pages, someone was holding a showing of Hiroshima Mon Amour. That was Sam Chaw, author of The Yellow Book. Beautiful words about parrot flower. And let me read to you another of the blurbs. With Floralia, Kimberly Ann Priest takes readers into the aftermath of sexual abuse, the flashes of memory, the gaps, the therapy, the survivor's strange relationship with her family and her body. Using flowers as both metaphor and a source of grounding, these poems brilliantly capture thoughts and experiences that are almost impossible to put into words. Tell me you are listening, she says. Yes, I'm listening. Everyone needs to read this book. That's Katie Manning, editor-in-chief of the Whale Road Review. Thank you, Katie. Everyone needs to read this book. Katie said so. All right, I'm going to read for you the first poem in the book. Each section begins with a prose piece like this. It's a woman who is working through her traumas. She's using flowers, she's using plants, she is doing story work, and that's something that's really familiar to me. So this might be the nonfiction part of this book, these three prose poems. Here we go. Long ago, a woman lost her sense of touch and smell and could not see the flowers of the field anymore. Not because her senses were diminished, but because they withered and died, and this felt like unbeing. So she opened her mouth, and though sound would not come easily because her breath caught dry in her throat, she persisted. And her affliction bloomed a flower from her mouth that would not fade, subsisting solely on the young woman's grief. She plucked the flower from her mouth and coddled it in her hands and christened it Amaranth, an appellation that is rooted in the Greek word amaranthos, meaning immortal or unfading, as well as amaranthus, the Latin name of the flower, which is probably Celosia cristata. Thus, the word amaranthine emerged as an adjective of the imaginary flower, and subsequently of anything possessing its undying quality, such as sorrow, loss, or grief, ache, that remains sown into being and breath, imbuing wisdom in the aftermath of their original inspiration. But amaranth also names a real plant, genus Amaranthus. It is an herb that some consider a weed, but that others grow for its colorful leaves and spikes of flowers. Thank you for listening to me read that first poem in the book. And for the final selection, I'm going to read from the last section of the book. This is titled Red Coral Like a Woman's Painted Lips. I write a Sudoku poem, and I use a line from Patti Smith's poem Rape, Patti Smith the rock and roller. It says, there she is on the hill, pale as a posy, getting soaking wet. That really does set the scene for this poem. So this is the woman, pale as a posy, speaking for herself. Heart, sutured open. The sky is the color of a mouth closing its cloud. We risk making breeze, stirring wind when summer comes, gamble a few breaths, apologies. Heart. The flying comes, my mother skeins of yarn on a table, the old coping. The rowing hand. I dress the darling wound myself. What remedy are we? What this nostrum, heart, sickness, is not a cure. Still, he craves. Cure, cure, darling, heartsick, cure. I lift myself up to lie, to form the words all compassion flickering teeth. The morning is cold, the barometer ticky-tacky, the street lamp helpful. I am grass now, heart. The angle of the trees there, see, something is cold, not his body, not mine. Something is cold, there, see, not his body, see not him, he, his body, not mine. Little teeth behind a cloud broke open, grass color of Aesenia capillata, Arctic string, strewn, plumbed, blooming, bud, heart drained, medicine, sunrise. I know you, white boy. FLORALIA.